Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at some new fans from Corsair, and they are totally new fans as well. Don't worry, I am here, woo! But it was easier for me to try and get these all in view and be angled downwards rather than trying to get my face in these as well. So they are the ML Pros, and they're all pros. But you have the premiums, which have LEDs, and then you have non-LED ones as well. But the ML stands for Maglev, or magnetic levitation. Now, with a fan, normally you have the motor in the back here, where you do have magnets anyway, because that's how the motors work. But you do have a bearing of sorts. There can be several different types of bearing, but essentially the bearing is what helps the it runs smoothly and perfectly level and all that type of thing. There are several ones, but they all have kind of a contact. Some have fluid in them where they have like oil to keep them lubricated. Some of them have ball bearings, some have ball bearings with the lube in as well. There's all kinds of different ones, but with these magnetic levitation fans, they actually, for want of a better term, the best way I can explain it is they hover. Now, one thing I do have to say right from the very beginning is that if you do get these, or you're watching these videos because you've now got them, make sure you run them with PWM, because with PWM, what that does is it chucks 12 volt into your fan, but the PWM channel then tells it how far to spin, and that's how it gets controlled. So with the PWM on these, you need the 12 volts in there because that's how the electromagnets help it hover better. So if you don't have them on PWM and you're running it on DC or something like that, and it's not quite getting the right amount of volts, then it might not give the motor the torque that's required to get the performance from it. So that's just one to chuck out there. So we've said that there are different types, and these are the ones that you're getting at launch. So we have 140mm models and we have 120mm models. Now with the older range, and I have them here, ta-da! You had the SP, which was the static pressure fan, and you can see that there's the big fat blades on this, and then you had the AF, and now this was what we would call the case fan. You can see a much more angled pitch on the blade, but more blades and smaller blades, and this was just for an airflow fan. Now what they've done with the MLs is you've only got one, and it's still a static pressure fan, but it's been tuned to be able to do the job of both. At least that's what they're saying anyway. So rather than having two different SKUs this time, we just have the one, and it's apparently a mix of the two. But when we do look at the performance, and I'll bring you up a lovely graphic, the 120, and we're going to compare these to the older SP fans. So the 120, you get 12 to 75 CFM, and that's at 16 to 37 dBA. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, why are you giving us two results, Tom? And that's because they go from 400 up to 2,400 RPM. Now that's a massive big scope for a fan to be able to go right down to 400, but then right the way up to 2,400 as well. Some of your motherboards, you may need to download the software that comes with it, with your motherboard, to be able to give them that massive range. It might even be easier for those of you out there that do have, for argument's sake, a fan speed controller, but you need to make sure it's a PWM fan speed controller, not just a DC, like I said before. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up. But you do get a 0.2 to 4.2 H2O, which is your static pressure. Now the old SPs, the static pressure maximum was 1.46, so it's almost 3 times the static pressure available. Now you do need to remember that the 4.2 is going to be when it's running at 2,400 RPMs. But the idea is, and lots of people are going, oh, I'm not going to run my fans at 2,400 RPM. Yes, but the idea with the Maglev is that without the motor noise, you can essentially turn the fan speed up and get the more performance at the same, if not less noise. We'll cover that in a minute. We're just trying to get the specs done for the moment. Now with the 140s, they're 20 to 97 CFM. You've got 0.2 to 3 mil H2O. Now the old 140mm SPs, the static pressure on that was a maximum of 1.17. So you can see again, you're getting about, you know, give or take 2.5 times the static pressure with these fans versus the old ones. Now they have spent a lot of time with these, in that the cage has been given just as much attention with the design as the blades themselves. Now with the cage, you can see around the outside they've got a really smooth intake going in, because you want to minimize the noise that the cage creates just as much as the blades themselves, because it can all create it. And then round the back you can see that you've got that opening here, which then the air that gets blown through, because this is the exhaust, we'll call it, intake, open, exhaust, it's got it all closed. You can see that you've got the cage, and it angles it, so it basically, rather than it going straight up, it's going to go really wide, which will be good for your radiators and the like. But also quite funkily, I do like the way that you've got the cross on them as well. Now I know a lot of the fans, you do get the 4 now, but I don't know, it's just something about the way that that's kind of sat, I personally find quite appealing. The other thing that you can do with these fans is the red, blue, white, black, you can see denotes the LED colours. So with the LED colours, if you get red ends. But you can change these if you want. You can buy them separately on the Corsair website, and you can remove them. So if you wanted to have red fans and white ends, you know, your options are there should you want to, and they just need to have a bit of a pull, but they do go, there we go, back on. And they're a nice sturdy fit as well. So these plastic bits are interchangeable. You've got the rubber bits on the end. It's a very kind of firm rubber as well. It's to help try and minimize any possible noise that you might go through. So you've got those, and like I said, you have the red, blue and white LEDs, and then you have a normal unbladed, un-LED'd black. The other thing that kept getting mentioned with the older LED fans was the LEDs came from the outside in, and when the fans were spinning, they made a logo on there, which it just became an internet thing to bring it up every time you saw them. So what they've done this time is the LEDs are actually in the middle here, and they radiate outwards. So you won't get any of those questionable logos, or like, you know what I'm on about. I'm trying not to say it because I don't want to, but anyway. So now they light from the inside out rather than the outside in, which should also give us a much more nice dispersal of the light as well. But we will yet to see, because now what we really need to do is go and have a play. Okay, so I've got some of the 120s in the system. I've chosen the white LEDs because they're the ones that I like. Now, and if you're wondering what this graphics card is, it is actually the Asus Strix RX 480. Anyway, off topic, in on the fans. So, little bit of a professional shufty with the camera. There we go. We're running at this present moment in time at 400 RPM. You can see that the LEDs are all very nicely lit. It is actually during the day as well, so the fact the camera's picking up so nice is actually quite cool. What you can see is we have the LEDs in the middle, and you do pick up a little bit of a ring around the outside. It's a very soft ring to the eye though. The camera makes it look a little bit better, and also with the way that you can see the blades, you don't see those with the naked eye either. It's just because of the shutter on the camera. So the reason why we're here is just to show you that when you turn the fans up or down, that you don't get a brighter LED. See, they are now just slowly spinning up to 1200 RPM. And they are very quiet as well. If we were to go turbo mode and go from 1200 straight the way up to the top, but our point always was that when you turn them down, the LEDs don't get dimmer. And that's plain and simply because of the fact that it's being powered by PWM, and with the PWM they do get a 12 volt, which is what we need for the Maglevs. So the LEDs also stay the same brightness as well. So there are, you know, some good points in there to be brought up really. This is just a quick section so I can show you the LEDs on the fans. I think it's just a nice way so that you can get a feel for the way that the colours do look. I will say that the red does look slightly darker, a little bit different on to the naked eye. This is the best way I've been able to find of showing you the red. You can see that it does give off a lot of light, and it is a very deep red as well. It's just obviously with an LED, a camera will always struggle to pick up the difference between the glare. Always comes out a little bit white, but you can take my word for the fact they are a very deep red, and all the rest of the kind of lighting effect around the outside of the frame and everything is all still very much that lovely deep shade. After showing the red off, I thought we had better show the blue as well. The blue looks a little bit sky blue here. It is slightly darker on camera. I have tried messing around with white balance and other settings, but I just can't get it to go. I think it's just because my camera's meant for low light. But this is a really nice blue. It's almost like the blue OC3D used to be. But anyway, you get the idea of the way that the lighting works on this one. Again, you can see how much it puts out onto my hand, and we're not in a pitch black room either. This is it's only like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We've just pulled the blinds, and here is the white. Now the center is quite diffused because it's got a frosted effect, so it does go out quite well. We just spin the fan down, you can see you've got a frosted effect on the blades as well. And if you're wondering why you can hear the fan noise, it's because I'm powering them from a mains Molex adapter. So we're not powering them by PWM, which we would do in a system. It's just a nice quick way for me to be able to plug these in and show you on a desk and be able to move them around without having a system plugged in. I do actually like the effect as they slow down. There we go. Sorry, I'm playing. The child in me was enjoying the light show. But again, you can see that these do put out quite a bit of light. Okay, so it's the first time that you've seen my ugly face in this video, but I have done some testing on the fans. Now, I used the white LEDs because they were the ones that I personally wanted to see, so they're the ones that went into the system. Now, the ones that the fans that I used for comparison are just the fans that I had in there from before, so they've not been chosen specifically, and they were the EK Vardas, and they are the white ones. They're also PWM. They go down to 450 RPM up to 2,200 RPM. So it seemed to, you know, the Vardas are more radiator specific. But like I said, they were just the ones in there. And the cooler that we used was the H100i V2 or the H100i GTX. Although we're not allowed to call them that anymore, are we? Ugh. Anyway, so 1200 RPM. The Vardas was 65 degrees, the Corsairs was 63.1. And to be honest with you, as you can see in the graph, they were just in front each time. The one thing that with the Corsairs though, is they say they're quieter. And they are, but one thing that you do need to remember is it's the motor noise that's quieter. If you push air through a radiator, so with like a dedicated radiator or an AIO or even a heat sink, then you're going to get air noise as it passes over the fins. So depending on how fast you push the air through those depends on the noise, and each radiator can be different. If they've got a looser fin stack, they might be a bit quieter. If they've got a tighter fin stack, they might actually need more static pressure but create more noise. The same with your case. If you've got a very tight kind of section of holes in the front of your case where it pulls the air through, that can make more noise. And they're exactly the same to go with your dust filters. They can create noise as well, and also they can create noise but also limit the amount of air that can come through. So the one thing that I do want to stress is by buying a fan that says that it's going to be quieter, you need to remember it's the motor noise, not the air noise, because we are always going to create more noise the faster fan spin. The more air you're pushing, you're accelerating air. You know what it's like on your bike. So you're riding down the road and you're riding nice and slow and you can hear everything. If you start going downhill quick, you start hearing the air hitting your ears and things like that, and you start to pick up that wind noise. Exactly the same sort of thing. So you get no real noticeable motor noise. I mean, we've all had that fan that we've had in the past where you can hear it humming, where you can hear the motor going. So that's what they get rid of with the Maglev. It also reduces friction, increases lifetime. So there's some good points to come from it. Where they are PWM, it also means that the lights now don't go dim. The older SPs, if you make the LED ones, if you made them run slower, where they were only 3-pin, the lights went dim as well. And it was always something how can I put it, like, not the designer in me, but sometimes I wanted my fans to be lit up really nicely, and you'd have to turn them all up to get the right picture, all that. Please understand, you know what I'm going with this. So these, they stay nice and bright all the time. Now that may not suit everyone, but that's why we have the ones without the LEDs. For those of you out there that might want a super stealthy rig that's not going to keep you awake, or you don't have to put a blanket over it like a parrot to keep it quiet, or not darken it down at night. So we've got all those options. Now, they're not the cheapest fans in the world at all. So if you're here hoping to pick up one of these for £5, then really I'd stop the video, because otherwise you're going to end up complaining at the end. The 120s come in at £19 each, and you can get the non-LED ones. They're £18 each, or you can get them for £24 or £25 for a dual pack. So the non-LED ones, you can get a deal with the dual packs. I've not found any deals on dual packs with the LED ones yet. So instantly that puts the fans up there with things like the Noctua server grade fans, and they do have quite a range as well for the old PWM. These are more these are almost like you've got the, I've wanted Corsair to have PWM fans for ages, because the 3-pin has just got to the point now where even the newer cooler fans and the case fans have been coming in with PWM. We've not had any like proper aftermarket ones to be able to like pimp our rigs with PWM, so that we can use a PWM controller, or just get things tuned right. Now, I'm a bit of a silence freak anyway, so I already kind of like these in the fact that you can spin them right back down and you can set them to go up gradually. They're going to look like the same brightness all the time, so that's all well and good. So I would say that most cases you're going to have 2 fans in the front, 1 in the back and 2 in the roof. That means if you want to change the fans to these, it's a £100 upgrade, and it's a huge upgrade for air. And one thing I would say is the way I kind of see them is it gives you that range so that you can have them quiet, but the high RPM side of it is really more about using them for like benchmarking and stuff. We did see with the tests that we did that they do keep performing well even as the speed goes up. Whereas with the Vardas, it tailed off a little bit more. These actually kept going up. As you saw with the 2200 RPM, it was a good 2 degrees different. So they do get better, and they do keep pummeling it through. So the blade design and the technology is there. But you've obviously, if you make them spin really quick through a radiator, you're going to get noise. So you just have to keep those points all in mind. So really, I'm going to give them the OC3D Innovation Award for the Maglev. And I literally, to show you the lengths that I went to, I did try and film them the way that they said to do, which was have a microphone a metre away and stuff. But to be honest with you, I'd have ended up having to get loads of different fans out, and it just turned into a bit of a pain in the bottom for a set of fans, when really all you lot want to know is colours, speed, will they cool my radiator, and how much they are. So you've got all of that. Yeah, they're a bit expensive. You are going to have to decide that. Even I think £19 is a lot of money for a single fan, but I did find those Noctuas. They were like £23, £24 each. So Corsair have kind of yomped into the proper high-end premium end of the fan market, which does mean they're not going to be for everyone. And I'm sure there are going to be all the trolls and the fanboys in the comments going absolutely crazy. But, it just means that they're just not for you. You can't have a fan that is going to be, have this kind of design and everything, but then still be £5. These aren't your kind of cheap £5 fans. So you can debate and argue and fanboy to your heart's content underneath the video. But for the Maglev side of things, and I actually think compared to the old AFs and SPs, yeah, genius, Tom. I actually think that these look so much nicer. And the curved kind of cage I really got on board with. I'm not too sure about the interchangeable plastic things on the outside yet. We'll have to see how easy Corsair make those for us to purchase. But an undoubted Innovation Award winner for that bearing, and I look forward to seeing them being used in rigs going forward. I have to admit I'm in two minds now, because I'm currently speccing up my own system, and I have to admit that when I look at these and the way they light, I'm drawn to them. And when they're being run at kind of like 500 RPM, 1200 RPM, I personally see that as being perfect kind of silent system water cooling mode, because that's the other thing to think about with these. They are SPs, so if you're a water cooler out there and you're going to have a couple of banks of radiators or something like that, and you're looking for a fan that you can spin right down but still look good, that's where they kind of like tickle my fancy. But I will let you decide what you think, and I would love to hear from you about it. But hopefully I've got everything out. Brain fart? Yes, I'm sure we're doing relatively good. Grr, again. I don't know why I found that funny. But anyway, this is Tiny Tom Logan with the Corsair Maglev fans, which I've just awarded the Corsair Innovation Award, out.